Namaste and good morning to all of you. Let's start the class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhubhava Swaha Tatsavitra Varenayam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Asto ma satgamya tamso ma jyotirgamya mrityor ma amritam gamya. Om sehna vavtu sehna bhunatu sehviryam karvavahi tejasvi navadhitamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om. Today is Thursday, and on Thursdays these days we are studying Kathopanishad, and we are towards the end of this Upanishad, the second chapter and the third part of the second chapter. And as you know, this is a conversation between Lord of Death and a young boy, 8 or 9 years of age. His name is Nachiketa. So we are on the verse number 10 of this last section. So if you have your books open, let's look at this verse. Yada panch avatishtante jnanani manasahasah buddhi cha na vicheshtati tam ahu paramam gatim. Yada means when, panch, 5, avatishtante are at rest. Jnanani, organs of knowledge. Jnanindriya. Manasahasah, together with the mind. Buddhi, the intellect. Cha means and. Na vicheshtati, ceases functioning. That means there's a calmness in that also, in the buddhi. Tam means that. Ahu, they call. Paramam, the highest. Gatim, the state. So Lord of Death is saying when the 5 organs of knowledge are at rest together with the mind. So man and panch jnanindriya, they are completely calm. And when the intellect ceases functioning, that means intellect also becomes very calm. That state they call the highest. Tam ahu paramam gatim. So this Upanishad, through this Upanishad, the Lord of Death wants us to reach a state where the sense organs, the mind and the intellect are at complete rest. And this state is defined by the Vedas, the Upanishads, as the state of vitally experiencing the supreme absolute reality, the self. So self is there all the time, everywhere, but who is stopping us to experience it? Our disturbed senses, our agitated mind, and our intellect also. Okay, intellect keeps on putting doubts there. So during the moments of God consciousness, the individual, the sadhu, transcends his mind, the intellect, and reach this place of eternal consciousness. Sometimes people say that we reach there when we are sleeping also, in the deep sleep. But remember, in the deep sleep, which is called Sushupti, we are drowned in the darkness of ignorance. But this state, which Lord of Death is mentioning, it's a Samadhi state. That's why it is the sunshine of knowledge. Okay? It's not steeped into darkness. So in order to delve deep into our own self, we got to heighten our intuition. That's where this intellect is calm, at the level of the intuition. And what exactly is the process to be pursued? Let's look at the answer to that in the next verse, because now we know what we need to do. But how to reach there? Let's look at it. Tam yogam iti manyante sthiram indriye dharanam apramataha tada bhavati yoga hi prabhava apayo. Tam means that. Yogam iti, as yoga. Manyante, they call or regard. Sthiram, firm. Indriye dharnam, control of the senses. Apramataha, free from all the vagaries of the mind. Tada means then, bhavati becomes yoga hi, for the yoga. Prabhava apayo, grows and decays. The firm control of the senses, they regard as yoga. And if you remember the terminology of Ashtanga Yoga, firm control of the senses called pratyahara. So the firm control of the senses they regard as yoga. Then the yogi becomes free from all the vagaries of the mind. Mind which likes to go here, there, everywhere, is in control of the yogi. For the yoga is the subject here. Yoga is the subject to growth and decay. So in other words, he says through yoga. So the process is what? A yoga. That's why yesterday also I was mentioning the masters of all different philosophies, they say yoga is the technique, the process of yoga to attain the ultimate goal. So the process of self-development, self-perfection is yoga. And truly practiced yoga promises us our goal, which is the Godhood, the union of the soul with the God. So it starts with the firm control of the sense organs, firm control. My eyes should be in my control, my ears in my control, all the senses in my control. The amount of sense control a person comes to enjoy depends upon how much effort he's putting in. And the final and the total control over the senses will come from the moment of full realization of the self. Param drishtva nirvatate. The windows are completely controlled. When I need to open them, I should open them. They are there for use, but not just keep on opening and let the mind and the intellect wander. So yoga starts with and is continued in self-control. Ekagryam paramam tapa. So control of the sense organs does not mean merely the negative idea of taking our sense organs away from the sense objects, because this is only half of the battle. Take it away from the sense objects. Success can only be achieved in self-control and only when our mind is also fixed firmly in the steady concentration and meditation upon the Atma. Okay, that is, so we got to stay away from the outside, and what do we do inside? Absorb your mind and intellect into the Atma. That's why this Upanishad is warning us very kindly that how easy it is even for the highly developed student of yoga to get themselves lost in the middle of their own successes. If they become careless even for a moment, that's what this subject to growth and decay. We can go down also. We got to make sure that we stay firmly controlled. Doesn't take much time to slip down. So the path of knowledge, it's a beautiful path, but it's a razor path. Sometimes a little knowledge and we just think that we know more than anybody else. So that's why we got to remember this knowledge also for what? Knowledge to attain the Godhood. Not just a name and fame in this temporary world. It is temporary. No matter how long this earth going to stay here, still it's temporary. Permanent is only the God. Okay, so we don't need to sleep. We don't want to become decayed. न एव वाचा न मनसः प्राप्तुं शक्या न चक्षुषा अस्ति इति ब्रुवतः अन्यत्र कथम तत् उपलभ्यते. न एव, not verily, vacha by speech, na manasa, not by mind, praptum, to be reached, shakya, easy, na chakshusha, not by the eyes, asti, is, iti, thus, bruvataha, from those who say, who talk about it, anyatra, otherwise, katham, how, tat means that, uplabhyate is realized, is obtained. The self cannot be reached by speech, nor by mind, nor even by the eyes. How can it be realized otherwise than from those who say that it exists? So who is saying that it exists? Anybody who has realized it. And who is that? The realized person, the Guru. So that's why he's saying it can be realized in the company of a realized person. Okay. So Atma is the controller of the entire mechanism of life. Okay, and when he says Vacha, Manasaha, Chakshusha, that is the mechanism which God has given it to us. So mechanism cannot see the Atma. So Lord of Death very naturally is conveying to his dear disciple that there is no other source of knowing the existence of the Atma than the sacred divine words or the presence of a Guru. Shabad Praman, the words of the Guru. Because they are the living realities. Those are the realized saints. So the words coming from a Guru's mouth, he says, if you believe in it, practice it, then you will become realized too. Otherwise, there's no matter how clever you are in your speech. That's what the Vacha means. So argumentation cannot make you realized. These eyes, no matter how beautiful your eyes are, you cannot see Atma. It's only you have to realize, learn it from a realized source. So no amount of metaphysical arguments can help a seeker to reach the absolute truth. Okay, so every practitioner will have to start the pilgrimage with a lot of courage, faith in the words of the Master. Okay. Next one, verse number 13. Asti iti eva upalabdhya tattva bhaven cha ubhyo. Asti iti eva upalabdhya tattva bhava prasiditi. Asti is existing. Iti means thus. Eva means alone. Upalabdhya is to be realized. Tattva bhaven as the truth. Cha means and, ubhyo of the two. And again, asti iti eva upalabdhya of that very self which was earlier existing. Tattva bhava, the true nature. Prasiditi becomes favorably disposed. Proceed. The self is first to be realized as existing, and then as it really is. Of these aspects, the real nature of the self that has been known as merely existing becomes evident to the seeker. So in other words, first you have to believe in it. I am the Atma. Then after doing the sadhana, it will become clear to you. It will become clear to you just like it's clear to those realized people. So he who realizes the Atma as the very essence of existence has realized the Atma. Essence. See, this we can understand. When we are speaking because there's some kind of a power inside us. If the power is taken out, can't speak, can't see, can't hear, can't walk. That essence is the Atma. Even intellectually, we can understand it, but we have to realize it. So, a person who realizes the source of all life to be the pure existence alone is the realized one. So, existence in itself, this is a term used to differentiate the existence of a thing from the existence as such. So existence in itself. So existence of a thing is well known to us. When we see something outside of us, we see the existence. But here this existence is known in its qualified or conditioned state. So Atma is the subjective knowledge, not objective knowledge, in other words. The pure state of being, keval astitva bhav, keval, only. That is what this Upanishad is declaring. The other Upanishads also declare this. So a person who reaches this state of knowledge, reaches the supreme goal of life, has risen above the seat of the meditation. It's almost like a walking and talking God, has realized. Okay. Yada sarve parmuchyante kama ye asye hridi shrita ath mritiha amrita bhavati atra brahma sham ashnute. Yada means when, sarve, all, parmuchyante, are destroyed, kamaha, desires. Ye means which, asya, his, hridi, in the heart, shrita, dwelling, at means then, mritya, the mortal, amrita, immortal, bhavati becomes atra, here. Here means in this body. Brahma, sham ashnute, he attains. When all the desires that dwell in the heart are destroyed. Okay, it's not only physically doing a meditation alone. The desires got to be destroyed. Our scriptures, they don't get tired of stating this to us. No matter which scripture we pick up, the desires, the worldly desires. When all the desires that dwell in the heart are destroyed, then the mortal becomes immortal. And he attains Brahma even here, even in this body. And this is called a Jivan Mukta. So the state of desirelessness, because when there's no desire, there's a state of desirelessness, is the state of Kaivalya or illumination or a Jivan Mukta. That state can be reached even while the individual lives here in this very life, within his or her mortal form. That's what Yamraj is saying over here. So the real thing we need to do, burn the desires, not suppress the desires, not fulfill the desires, burn the desires. Okay. Yada sarve prabhidhyante hridasye ihi granthya ath mrityaha amrito bhavati etavat anushashanam. Yada means when, sarve all, prabhidhyante are destroyed, or when they get shattered. Hridasya, of the heart. And over here, heart means the mind. Okay. Ih means here, granthya, knots. Ath means then, mritya, the mortal, amrito, mortal. Bhavati becomes etavat, this much alone. Anushashanam, instructions. When all the knots of the heart are destroyed here, even while a person is alive, then the mortal becomes immortal. So Mritya becomes Amrita. And that's what we sing in the mantras also. Take us from mortality to the immortality. This is not a magic wand that God is going to do that. We have to work for it. We have to do the sadhana for it. Then the mortal becomes immortal. This much alone is the instruction of all the Upanishads, actually, not just this Upanishad alone. All the Upanishads say the same thing. So this verse is a continuation of the idea which was given in the previous mantra. And Hridaya Granthi, you're all familiar with this technical term. Hridaya Granthi has 3 knots: Avidya, Kama, and Karma. That's called a Hridaya Granthi, knot of the heart. Avidya. Avidya means not knowing who you are. Ignorance. Ignorant about your true nature. That's avidya. Deeper the avidya, or more the avidya, more the desires, the kamanae. That's the second knot. So avidya is at the spiritual plane. Kamana is in a mental plane. In our mind, a lot of desires. Got to do this, got to have it, got to go there, got, all the time. Kamanae. We justify our kamanae. Kamana is a kamana. So avidya, kam, and we know that more the desires, more active the person will be. That is a karam. So karam is modified into the outer world of the objects. Karam. Okay, so these are 3 knots of the heart. So it's a philosophical concept. Okay, so avidya, remember, it's a forgetfulness of our true eternal nature. That's avidya. And this avidya is the cause of all the continued delusions and the superimpositions. Because when a person does not recognize his or her real nature, gets agitated with the calm desires. And these very desires, they just make us so busy, workaholics. So these bonds of avidya, kam, and karam together are called the knots of the heart. Just remember that. When a human being during his lifetime breaks these bonds, will end this ignorance. And this ignorance can be ended only with the knowledge. So that's why the knots of the heart can break down only with the knowledge. So avidya. Avidya can be broken down with the vidya. So liberation comes from knowledge in that sense. They say, Jnanen evatu kavalyam. Man becomes God on the earth. Shatam cha eka cha hridyastha. Bahyata sam murdha nam abhi nisritaha ekaha. Taya udharvam ayan amritvam eti vishwak anyaha utkramen bhavanti. Shatam cha eka cha, 101. Shatam is 100. Ek means 1. Hridasya of the heart. Nadya, the nerves, the nadis, the nerve channels. Tasam of them. Murdha nam, towards the crown of the head. Abhi nivritaha. Penetrates and goes out. Ekaha, 1. And 1 over here really means the sushushmana. Ekaha. Taya means then, udharvam, upwards. Ayan, going. Amritvam, immortality. Etihi, attains. Vishwak, different. Anya, others. Utkramen bhavantihi, causes worldly state. That is death. 101 are the nerves of the heart. And this 101 means not exactly 101, that means many. Okay? So 101 are the nerves of the heart. Of them, 1, that is Sushushmana, penetrates the crown of the head. Okay? So into the crown center, only 1 nadi goes, that is Sushushmana. Even the Ida and the Pingala don't, because these are the main 3 nadis, Ida, Pingala, Sushushmana. Ida and the Pingala, they are at the nostrils. One end is at the nostril, the other end is at the base of the spine. Sushushmana is the only one which reaches up there. So that's why he said Ekaha. So 101 are the nerves of the heart. Of them, 1 Sushushmana penetrates the crown of the head. Going upwards through that nerve, 1 attains immortality. The others lead differently. They just have a ordinary death. But a person who has gotten rid of the avidya, burnt all the desires, seeds of the desires, living in this life can attain this moksha. That's what he's telling us. Because anybody who leaves this body through Sushushmana Nadi attains moksha. Okay? Because you remember, Nachiketa's question was, what happens after we die? This is what he's explaining. A person who has lived like a yogi will attain moksha, becomes one with God. Others, they come back here again and again because of the ignorance and the desires and the karma, the knots of the heart. Okay, so it's like a yogic philosophy, which is mentioned in the Hatha Yoga also, Raj Yoga also. That's what he's mentioning over here. To such a yogi, the Upanishad is saying that you will reach You don't come back. Natasya pranaha utkramante. By knowing Brahm, he becomes Brahma. Such a complete and total liberation is for that yogi. Okay. So that means you can see that how important the pranayama is. Otherwise, average person is not even familiar with the Ida, Pingla, Sushushmana. So we got to do the pranayama, do the meditation by understanding this equipment, physical, subtle equipment, where we are residing right now. Because this equipment has been given to us to do the sadhana. So we got to do the sadhana with a full knowledge. Full knowledge. See, pran, yesterday we were learning the koshas. Anme kosh, pranme kosh, manome kosh. Anme kosh we are familiar with, the gross body. Pranme kosh, little subtler than that. We still can understand, even though we are breathing all the time, but if we pay attention, it is in between the man and the body, we can definitely put our finger on it. And with the help of the pran, we can control our mind. This is the technique Yogi Guru teaches. Okay, let's look at the next one, number 17. Angusht matraha purushaha antaratma sada jananam hridaya sanvishtaha tam swat shrirat pravrihet munchat iv ishikam dhairyen tam vidyat shukram amritam tam vidyat shukram amritam iti. Beautiful verse. Angusht matra, the size of a thumb. Purushaha, the soul. Antaratma, the inner self. Sada, always. Jana naam, of being. Hriday, in the heart. Sanvishtaha, seated or dwelling. Tam means him. Swat, one's own. Shrirat, from the body. Pravrihet, separate. Munchat, from the reed or a special kind of a grass. Munch grass. Iv means like. Ishikam, the central stalk. Therein, the steadiness or with the perseverance. Tam means him. Vidyat, no. Shukram, pure. Amritam, immortal. Tam means him. Vidyat, no. Shukram, pure. Amritam, immortal. Iti means thus. Why sometimes the words are repeated? To emphasize the point. Okay. The Purush of the size of the thumb, the inner self, is ever seated in the heart of all living beings. Okay. One should draw him out from one's own body with steadiness. Okay. Draws means have experience of it. As one draws the central stalk from a reed, that special kind of a grass. Know him as pure and immortal. Yes, know him as the pure and immortal. First thing he's saying, the size and the shape. And the size and the shape, even though Atma doesn't have a size or a shape, this is just to facilitate our meditation. That's all. It's not that Atma is only this small and this shape. No. For our mind, we need that mind which goes everywhere. We want mind to concentrate on something. So they are facilitating us. And especially during the earlier stages of the path of Dhyan, we want something to hold on to. So otherwise, Atma is formless. So do not get confused over here. So this is only for the purpose of providing the sadhaks with a prop for our mind at meditation prop. so that we can concentrate easily. Okay? So we should not strain ourselves during meditation. And this is what he's saying over here when he says drawing out that grass from the reed. Don't strain. That reed from the grass itself comes out very delicately. If you're familiar with that kind of a plant, you just hold it in the middle and draw it out, it will come out. No effort is put. It's very flimsy, subtle, that grass, delicate. That needs a softness of the touch and also a very measured and a very practiced application of force. The same thing in our meditation also. Okay? Just do meditation regularly, sincerely, faithfully. Just pay attention to that Atma, the light over there, and you won't even realize that you'll be basking in that light of yourself. It's already there. Because this pure consciousness, this Atma, is the controller and the director of all the physical, mental, and intellectual activities in us, in all of us. It's not only in some of us, it's all of us. That is called soul or the Atma of the self. So that's why this Upanishad is concluding with these repeated assertions. Pure, immortal. Is pure. Atma is always pure. By definition, it can never be impure. Because what is the impurity in us? Impurity is only Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar, Matsarya. Those are the impurities of the mind, not of the Atma. Those are the impurities of the subtle body. So Atma is immortal, pure, eternal, unborn truth, all-pervading, uncaused, of all effects. We got to remember that. And the last verse of this beautiful scripture, Mrityu proktam nachiketa ath labdava vidyam etam yog vidhim cha brahm praptaha virjaha abhut vimrityuh anya api evam yavit adhyatmam evam. Mrityu proktam, instructed by death. Nachiketa, that's the name of that young boy. At means then, labdhava, having attained. Vidyam, knowledge. Etam, this. Yoga with him, process of yoga. Cha means and, tritsanam, the whole. Brahm praptaha, knower of Brahma. Virja, free from all impurities. See, if you break this word, viraja, without the Rajsikta. Okay, Virja. So Rajsikta, according to this philosophy, is impurity, Kam, Krodh, all those are Rajsiktas. Abhut became Vimrityu, free from death. Anya, any other. Api means also. Evam das. Ya means who. With means knows. Adhyatmam, in the inner self. Ev means thus. Nachiketas, having been so instructed by Lord of Death in this knowledge and in the whole process of yoga, became free from all impurities and death and attained Brahma. And so will attain any other too, who knows thus the inner self. So this path is not just for Nachiketa, this path is for everybody. But we have to practice what he's telling us to do. So anybody who is listening to the Upanishad, he's calling that a Nachiketa. So that's why Nachiketa, plural. So this master is advising us all. He is saying, acquire this knowledge. Through knowledge, and of the techniques, Yoga Vidhi, which is a Yoga Vidhi of the self-perfection, by which we can experience the absolute perfection, which is our real nature, which is called Brahm Vidya. It will come to a person whose mind is pure, whose intellect is pure, because through the sadhana, we need to cultivate this purity. Virja, free from rajas, free from impurities, free from vices and virtues, rise above them. This is called a Jnana Sadhana also. Jnana Sadhana, where we control the flow of sense organs. If there's no need for the sense organ to go to that sense object, stop it there. Powerfully. With your discrimination. That's how this mind is redeemed in slow and steady stages. It gets purified from these egoistic vanities, selfish, self-centered passions and desires, attachments, lusts, greeds, etc. And when we apply this kind of a controlled and purified mind to dwell at a limited chosen form, that mind which is pure, and then we tell that mind to stay here, thumb size of that light, who I am. That's how the powers of concentration are developed. Pure mind will listen to you. Impure mind will not listen to you. That's why purity is emphasized again and again. And then he says at the end, with greater intensity, for delving deep beneath, you will find it. This is who you are. Nature, you are the nature of the pure consciousness, eternal and absolute. So will he too attain who knows thus the inner self. So it's not only for this little boy, he says anybody. Even today, he who can fulfill in himself all the necessary qualifications, which have been explained throughout the scripture. So great teacher kept repeating again and again, even towards the end. He mentioned that Hridaya Granthi again, even though he mentioned it before also. So vividly, he's telling us what to do. And if we do this, what do we attain? So we got to learn to practice the techniques of Brahm Vidya as diligently as Nachiketa did. Then we can realize the self, become one with the truth as he did. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.